Functional interface in Java. Functional interface is an interface that has a single abstract method. And this method meant to be implemented with a Lambda expression. So let's try to make an example and have one functional interface that we call this as a printer, right? We will say public interface printer. Here we will create a single abstract method. Like methods in interface by default and abstract, so we'll say void print. And we will pass a parameter saying string and value, right? So this is going to be public abstract method that will return void and will have single parameter, which is string. We can mention this as a functional interface with annotation in the interface level, right? But we have an option to not mention this, but if you mention that as a functional interface, so it will make this automatically functional interface. And if we will try to create another method, another abstract method, then it will start giving us a compilation error saying a functional interface can have only single method, single abstract method. So it's good to have that annotation there. So now we want to implement this method, which is print method. So we will create a class saying functional interface implementation. Here we will create a main method. And now we will say printer, and we will say print equals to, and we will try to create a new printer type of object. When we try to create that, it will give us an option to create something called anonymous class. So what's the anonymous class? A class that directly implements the method from the interface. And we have a single method, and that's what it is implementing here. So in here, we will implement this method saying print the value, right? So let's say this method will simply print this value, saying printing and printing the value. Now, this is what we call as a anonymous class, but we want to convert this to Lambda expression. How do we convert this to Lambda expression? Lambda expression says we don't have to mention this new printer because I already know that it is a printer interface and you're trying to create an anonymous class. And you don't have to mention the override annotation because I know that functional interface will have a single method that will be overridden. The next thing is it says we don't have to mention public because we know that single method in interface is public because all the methods in interface are public methods. I know what kind of return type this method returns, so we don't need to mention that as well. And I know what's the method name in the interface. So all these things that we have public, void, print, not necessary because this Java already knows that the printer interface will have that public method that will be always public, that will have a return type here and name here. So we don't have to mention them right there. And it will have only the parameter and method body. These are the two things we will have. We don't need these extra curly braces. We can delete them here. So we will convert this to Lambda expression. And in order to convert this, we need to put this arrow, right? So we'll say, hey, this is the parameter and this is the method body. All right. So let's put this into the single line. So we will say string, value, arrow, curly braces, and whatever we want to do there, which is printing the value, right? And this is all going to be a Lambda expression. And we have, of course, some redundant things here. It says, hey, if the Lambda expression having a single line and it is output, then you don't need to mention the curly braces. So this is also redundant. We don't need the curly brace if it has a single line. And another thing, it says, hey, we know that it's taking a string as a data type in a parameter, So we don't need to mention that string here. So we will just simply say whatever we want to say, value, or let's say x, right? We can say x here. And it also says if it has a single parameter, then this parenthesis here not needed, because I know that it will have a single parameter. And this is the most simplified way of the Lambda expression: a parameter of the method and the body of the method. And we separate them by this arrow sign. So here now we have this reference, which is print, right? We will say print, which is our reference, and this reference will have a method which is called the print, right? This will come from the printer interface. We'll say print, and this is already implemented here, saying x, and this is our output, right? So we will say take this value, which is Java, right, and print for me whatever you have in your implementation. So it will type printing with the whatever the value we pass to the parameter here, which is Java. Let's run this. It should have an output as a printing Java. Printing Java. All right, so we can call this method as many times as we want. Printing, let's say, coding, right? So it will print us printing Java, printing coding, right? This will be printed in our output. This is all about the functional interface and Lambda expression.